Since all I had were hot dog buns to feed James for bread, I made him a hot dog sort of flavored soup with tomatoes, shallots, and apple. I'll put some hemp hearts on that, and he's going to talk about Rumble. I don't know how much time you'll have because my camera battery might die. I'm going to talk about Roman Holiday.
Oh, that's a famous one, eh?
Star Trek Beyond. And
it's on the bottom.
Yeah,
I figure Roman Holiday
warranted
pretty
the
good.
bottom. Well, it's really not. It's really not that
it's
good.
not. Okay, is that the one with Gregory Peck? Did you finish that one?
Yeah, it has Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck. I thought it would be good because, I mean, I don't mind those two, right?
Well, Bob Dylan did one song with the lyrics, with the lyric help from Sam Shepard, who was a actor and I think a playwright and stuff like that. Like it's maybe a little bit ironic about Gregory Peck, but not really. There's this movie I seen. It starred Gregory Peck. It was something like a sheriff and got shot in the back. And he keeps on recurring back to Gregory Peck. It's the greatest Shaggy Dog story ever. He never even released it. It's stunningly good. And the thing about Gregory Peck is, what it says is, it starred Gregory Peck. I don't know what role I had. I don't know who I was or whatever. He's identifying with Gregory Peck. It's really moving. But it's about this relationship that he used to have, and about driving through the United States. That's when people ask, I'm quoting from it, when people ask us, how far are you going? And I'll say sometimes, when we're out hiking, we're going all the way till the wheels fall off and burn. Anyway, I always liked Gregory Peck. Like, I was listening to what Pauline was listening to this morning, and it is just the first sentence. I said Gregory Peck. Everyone who's old enough knows his voice. It just stands for something like middle of the road decency or something like that. American decency.
Yeah, and I suppose so does Audrey Hepburn, really.
Yeah.
So, anyway, this movie is about it's a princess story where she just wants to be an ordinary girl. She wants to have fun and whatever, and I don't know if anybody could relate to this. I don't know if anybody's watching this going, oh, thank goodness I'm not a princess. So, anyway.
It's funny how they Americanized Audrey Hepburn, because I think she's England.
Whoa.
But
whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but Hollywood will Americanize all sorts of
America's
people.
favorite little girl, didn't she?
Yeah, and like Cary Grant was, I think, a Cockney kind of guy. The other Americanized pretty well anyway. Omar Sharif, an Egyptian.
Yeah.
They end up making him a heartthrob, playing a Russian in Dr. Zhivago and stuff like that.
And this one, it was a toss-up because this was so boring and stupid. I'd expected so much more.
Well, I mean, yeah, you would have heard of the title and stuff like that, right?
So then, after all that, I was like, okay, where do I put this? This was really bad. This was really bad, but this weren't at the bottom because just the scene where Captain Kirk is driving around on a dirt bike, that warrants the bottom of the stack. Really, honestly, on a dirt bike. They didn't even try to make it look like a space age dirt bike or anything. No, it was just a dirt bike.
Now this is the new Captain Kirk, like Captain Kirk as a youth or something like that.
Yeah, you know what? I really don't know what the story is with this. I don't really care. It's entertaining enough. I watched 20, like we used to watch Star Trek Marathon on what channel? It must have been on the Sci-Fi Channel or something, right?
Star Trek Marathon?
I don't know, but it was every day, right? We just Like, what do we watch? Okay, the Weather Channel, and in the morning it was like, because I'd get cable for cheap in the summer because nobody wanted it in the summer, so that's when I'd get cable. Because I only needed it for the weather because I worked out in the summer. I was gardener, so in the summer in the morning we'd watch the belly dancing show and the Weather Channel. That was it. And then later on, if we happened to be home later on in the day, well, it was the Star Trek channel, whatever channel that was, which was probably sci-fi, but it was like every kind of Star Trek was on that channel, and so we just there it was on, right?
Oh, we knew how to deal with money. I mean, we still do. We have to. We have to hit the food truck and stuff like that because the government won't come through with my old age security.
Well, we just have to go in and demand it some more. If we raise enough fuss, then they'll give it up. You've got two parts of your pension, right? There's 3 parts of a pension. Like, you got the one from your work. That one they had no problem giving him that. I mean, you worked for it.
Yeah.
And then the one you're not getting is the old age security, right? Yeah.
So, the first time I went in, I was getting the runaround, arrogant runaround, pretentious runaround from someone who hadn't even spent his whole life here. He had an accent, a noticeable accent.
Well,
I'm not
it's
going to
just
say where he was
interesting because...
But some of my ancestors have been here 10,000 years, and he's demanding proof of, like a birth certificate or something like that, proof of citizenship. Come on. Anyway.
Yeah, well, it is interesting because we go to places where we get food with the immigrants because, a lot of immigrants, refugees and whatever, they don't have a lot of money and they go to food at the place that we do.
We haven't run across a refugee.
Some of the immigrants were telling me, oh yes, you can get the old age, all you need to be, I can't remember what they were saying, you just need to be here for 10 years and you get the pension. You just need to be, or something like that, right? They were telling me, and then one woman brought in the paperwork showing, oh yes, see, this is, you get the pension when you, so, and I'm years. Like, oh, okay, yeah.
I've been here continuously since 1964.
He's worked with the government. He worked for the government doing
as early as 1959. Oh yeah,
his whole life, right?
Yeah,
like
not
his whole adult life, adult years. Yeah.
Going back to continuously since I was 10 years old.
No. When you worked for the government. You weren't 10 years old when you worked for the government.
No, I'm saying I've been here continuously
I mean, you went
since
to
I was
public
10 years
school,
old.
so.
I've been working for the government, or I had been, since I was 20.
Yeah.
Documented.
Yeah.
And straight, like with the same employer, the City of Lethbridge.
We went down, finally we went to the provincial building or whatever. What is that? No, it's not the provincial building, it's the other one. Services Canada? What's it called? I don't know what it's called. But where they do it would be the federal government. Yeah. So we went there anyway, and James signed something saying they could check all the government agencies or whatever, all the other things to find him, right, in the system. And there was nothing on the thing. I thought, okay, well, at least they have your address because it's been the same for your whole adult life, so maybe they can find you from that. But his name is so common, it's like, how are they possibly, like, they didn't ask enough questions on the form to know who he was exactly, right? Like, it was
Social
ridiculous.
Security number.
Anything. They could have asked all sorts of things that were
really
really obvious. They didn't ask that.
No.
They asked for the name.
All they had to do was check. So Pauline said, and this woman was saying, no, it'd have to be 10 years. So this was, I don't know, like, was it 5 years ago or something like that? I can't remember. But 5 years ago, so I would have been about 65.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I employed by the City of Lethbridge, or had been, going back to when I was 20. And I've been at the University of Lethbridge on and off, but initially, when I was 18 years old, that goes back to 1972, the fall of 1972.
So I don't know. I don't know why they're so eager to give some people pensions and so discouraging of others. But anyway, back onto Star Trek Beyond. This at 26 minutes into this story, I was like, okay, there's been a lot of action, but I can't find a story here. And I guess they like to do movies that way. They like to have a lot of action at the beginning and whatever. But by 26 minutes into it, you should be able to grasp some sort of a storyline or maybe some character build-up or something, right? But to get you to know where things are going. But soon after that, it wasn't too long after, I was like, oh, here we go. Here's a story, and this is tying this bit of in between the action bits or whatever in there. So there is a story there, if you hang in long enough. And there certainly is a lot of action.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. But I would say it's not worth watching. It's the dirt bike scene. That was so bad. And honestly, they called it classical music. There was some Beastie Boys Sabotage, and another song I can't remember, Fight the Power or something. I don't know what it was. Anyway, who cares? And that was just stupid. I really hate it when they do that in science fiction, futuristic movies, and they have just some crappy music that you know from right now. It's stupid.
Yeah, well, Beastie Boys is kind of like classic, if not classical. It's the only hip hop aside from Beck's ventures into hip hop that I think I like.
Okay. Well, still, I just don't. I have a hard time believing that any of the music from our century or from the 20th century is going to make it into the future. Honestly, I know you think, okay, well, the Beatles yesterday, that one's going to hang around forever or whatever.
Eleanor Rigby, not so much yesterday.
Okay.
But, Day in the Life. But when we're talking about pop music, they were glorying on CBC. Hip hop's the most popular music now. Johnny Ray was the most popular performer in the early 50s. Who's Johnny Ray, you're asking? Well, like his big hit was The Little Cloud That Cried. So, hip-hop's about as expendable as Johnny Ray. And that was just a bit before I was born. A little more than 2 generations ago.
Well, yeah, what's popular doesn't necessarily hang on.
It's not deservedly popular, almost every case.
Like, even we were listening to that Beatles 1+ album DVD package that we borrowed from the library.
Their number 1 hits were not their best.
Not that good. Yeah, most of them, not all. I mean, Paperback Writer was awesome, but
well, after that, that's when they started to concentrate on albums.
I see. Anyway, you want to talk about Rumble?
Yeah. So
the Indians who rocked the world.
So, what's Rumble referred to? Did you even know did you know it was a song? A rock and roll song?
No, I did not.
So, that maybe puts this sort of thing in context.
I gotta get up a minute.
Never get a bad back, folks. Never get a bad back.
Okay, keep going.
Anyway, Rumble is a song put up by a guy called Link Wray. And the story is, and they kind of portrayed it here, I think he stuck some pencils in a speaker way back when. What they used to try for was purity of sound. What you get when you punch holes in a speaker is you get what's called distortion. And distortion is to a large extent what rock and roll is about. Not so much rockabilly, but rock and roll. So the guy who invented it was apparently native, or at least part native. A guy called Link Wray. You say, Link who? It's like he's the missing link or something like that. And I guess he's the missing link between the first stage of rock and roll. You might characterize it as rockabilly. And what came later in the 60s. It's maybe a little bit hard to explain distortion, but it's kind of like growling. They say Link Wray invented the power chord, and he might have. what a power chord is basically the simplest. The power chord would be just play the top two strings on a guitar, and one would be the bass of a root and the other would be the fifth of a root. Rock and roll has tended not to play the third part of a chord. A chord is usually called a triad, a simple chord, basic chord, and it has the root, and then it's got the third, and then the fifth. So what you get with music is chords initially were basically an overtone series. So when you play a note, let's say on a guitar, like the string will flop around like this. It's not really flopping, it's vibrating. But it will vibrate. It's like the whole string will vibrate. But there will be other vibrations too. There will be a vibration that will be based on half of the string. So while half of the string is going up, the other half of the string will be going down. Then there's one based on this string being divided into thirds, and then to fourths, and then fifths, and sixths, and on it goes. And of course, the initial note will be the lowest. Each time you portion off the string, let's say into halves, it goes up in tone. And then the thirds, it goes up again. Fourths or quarters, it goes up again and then again and again. So you get this overtone series. And somewhere along the line, someone in the Western tradition of music discovered that you could make chords where you would take these overtone series and you'd build up sounds, and it was more powerful because you were amplifying. If you just played the one, it's kind of like amplifying or emphasizing that initial sound. You'd make it more powerful. You'd kind of like pile on to the overtone series. Well, the trouble is that the things aren't quite exact as you go up. That's why when a tuner tunes a piano, he'll kind of approximate the overtone series for the piano. And it's called something like you get a well-tuned piano, stuff like that. So what rock and roll did was say, like it tended to do, we're getting rid of that third. It's kind of weak. It's a weak link. It's kind of weak link ray in this series. And it's just the 1 and the 5th. And the weird thing is you weren't supposed to do that in classical music. You weren't supposed to play the 1st and the 5th, or the root and the 5th. It's supposed to be, I think, kind of like demonic or something like that, or at least not to play them in sequence, like melody here, and you have the 5th kind of like following up on the melody. And rock and roll just loved it. It is powerful. Now, I think some people have done, or at least one person has done, just what I'd call a super power chord, which is just playing first, forgetting the 5th. But that's what rock and roll is. It tends to be the deepest sound on the, like rhythm, rock and roll, the deepest 2 strings. You can have other ones too, but and then just the 1st and the 5th. That's all you play, just 2 strings. It's kind of weird, but it makes for power. And if you can distort all of it, which kind of like is a growling type of effect, it's